Okay, for the record, I love anything that involves that woo-woo stuff, especially astrology. So yeah. Hello, welcome to the space. My name is MT, glad to have you here. And by the title of this video, I'm going to give you book recommendations based off of my Big Six astrology placements. Now, before we really dive into the book recommendations and I give you my astrological Big Six placements, I do want to say that one, I am not an astrology expert by any means. I just really enjoy it. And two, these book recommendations aren't specifically oh my god, this character definitely acts in a sun and Sag way. It's more of these books speak to certain aspects of that placement. And in terms of what I'm using to reference these book recommendations are an app called Time Passages. I love this app so much and it really puts it into perspective, so I really recommend it. And also, who we got here today is Wuto from Jin's The Astronaut Promotions, related to space, so might as well have this guy join me here today. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a screenshot of my Big Six placements up on the screen somewhere for your reference. And let's go ahead and start with my sun sign, which is in Sagittarius. So a little bit about this is the sun represents your will and purpose, your sense of vitality, and your evolving higher self. In Sagittarius, it is mutable fire and rules the hips and thighs. Your ruling planet is Jupiter. Sagittarius is an optimistic, positive thinking sign associated with the quest for freedom from all restriction, as well as idealism, religion, and philosophy. Sagittarius people are direct and forthright, good-natured, and affirmative in their outlook. You tend to speak with a blunt tongue, which can get you in trouble at times, and although you are usually able to laugh yourself out of it. You tend to speak with a blunt tongue, which can get you into trouble at times, although you're usually able to laugh at yourself out of it. You display honesty and a strong moral nature. You also like to have fun and enjoy a good chuckle, even at your own expense. You gravitate towards adventure, sports, and travel, as well as gambling and other forms of risk-taking. You're likely to be very curious about the world around you, with a love for nature and a contagious enthusiasm for exploration of all kinds. At the highest level, you are concerned with understanding, perception, mental activity in the service of your high ideals for the benefit of mankind. So, the Sagittarius is known to be optimistic, very interested in philosophy, learning about human nature, and dabbling in different kinds of thought and ideals and learning more about the world in general. It is the adventure sign, is generally how it's characterized. And so the book I chose is The Anthropocene Reviewed, Essays on a Human-Centered Planet by John Green. And let me give you a little bit of a background here. So the Anthropocene is the current geological age in which human activity has profoundly shaped the planet and its biodiversity. In this remarkable symphony of essays adapted and expanded from his groundbreaking, critically acclaimed podcast, John Green reviews different facets of human-centered planet, from the QWERTY keyboard and Halley's Comet to penguins of Madagascar on a 5-star scale. Complex and rich with detail, the Anthropocene Reviews has been praised as observations that double as exercises in memoiristic empathy, with over 10 million lifetime downloads. John Green's gift for storytelling shines through this artfully curated collection about the shared human experience. It includes beloved essays along with 6 all-new pieces exclusive to the book. I got this book on audiobook through Spotify Premium, and I really enjoyed listening to it on my commute to work and stuff like that. And I just feel like this is really Sagittarius. You know what I mean? Just taking some seemingly random occurrences and observations or forms of media and examining it and just seeing the impacts that it has on people. Very Sagittarius, so highly recommend. The Anthropocene Reviewed is one of my favorite books that I've read recently, so highly recommend that. Okay, so that is my sun in Sagittarius, which is the Anthropocene reviewed by John Green. Next, we're going to go into my moon placement, which is in Aries. So, the moon in Aries gives an ardent nature with inclinations to impatience, independence, and impulsiveness. With this placement, you have a high energy level. You also have a strong competitive streak, which together with your attack-first attitude may conceal subtle feelings of insecurity. Your emotions are keenly felt, direct, and spontaneous. You may have to guard against a quick temper. You should also guard against a tendency toward a too hasty reaction to situations, rather than a more carefully reasoned approach. You are most comfortable thinking of yourself as strongly independent with a great physical and daring courage. And for this placement, I feel like it really reminds me of this fun book called I Hope This Finds You Well by Natalie. And so as far as Jolene is concerned, her interactions with her colleagues should start and end with her official duties as admin for Super Shops Incorporated. Unfortunately, her irritating, incompetent coworkers don't seem to understand the importance of boundaries. Her secret to survival? She vents her grievances in petty email postscripts, then changes the text color to white so no one can see that. That is, until one of her secret messages is exposed. Her punishment, sensitivity training led by the suspiciously friendly HR guy Cliff, and rigorous email restrictions. When an IT mix-up grants her access to her entire department's private emails and DMs, Jolene knows she should report it, but who could resist reading what her coworkers are really saying? And when she discovers layoffs are coming, she realizes this might be the key to saving her job. The plan is simple: gain her boss's favor, convince HR she's Super Shops' material, and beat out the competition. But as Jolene is drawn further into her coworkers' private worlds and secrets, her carefully constructed walls begin to crumble, especially around Cliff, who she definitely cannot have feelings for. Soon, she will need to decide if she's ready to leave the comfort of her cubicle, even if it means coming clean to her colleagues. Crackling with laugh-out-loud dialogue and relatable observations, I Hope This Finds You Well is a fresh and surprisingly tender comedy about loneliness and love beyond our computer screens. The sparkling debut novel will open your heart to the everyday eccentricities of our work culture and the undeniable human connection that comes with it. And I feel like this speaks to the competitive nature of Aries, and as mentioned before, oftentimes a moon in Aries placement puts up this very confident facade, which is really to mask any insecurity that they may feel. And I feel like Jolene's character really speaks to that very fire sign energy, also in the way that she's like, I have the ultimate opportunity, I have to take advantage of it. And yeah, so that is I Hope This Finds You Well by Natalie. Okay, the next placement I want to talk about is my Aries rising placement. And yes, I am a triple fire sign. I am sorry. Yeah. So let me go ahead and read my Aries rising to you all according to time passages. So Aries rising people are energetic, forceful, and outgoing. With Aries on the first house cusp, you have a so-called natural chart where signs and the house cusps correspond. Things flow, therefore, more easily for you in life and in your work, the product of your interaction with other people. Your ruling planet is Mars, and you are good at getting things done, although you make a better starter than finisher. As a builder, in the first rush of spring, you are the headstrong pioneering type who is likely to rush into things before reflecting. You have a great vitality and need to be physically active. You have a strong will and may try to dominate other people until you learn to be subtler at getting your way. You also have an acute need for love and affection. You benefit from self-discipline in order to channel your abundant energy more constructively. And yes, this read me for filth, but the book that I selected for this placement is Agua Viva by Clarice Lispector, and Lispector at her most philosophically radical. A meditation on the nature of life and time, Agua Viva shows Lispector's discovering a new means of writing about herself, more deeply transforming her individual experience into a universal poetry. In a body of work as emotionally powerful, formally innovative, and philosophically profound as Clarice Lispector's Agua Viva stands out as a particular triumph. Now, I chose this because of the fact that with my Aries rising placement, I tend to be really impulsive. I tend to speak before I think, And I chose this because I feel like this really spoke to my Aries placement, because of the fact that this reminds me to slow down and really meditate on the different things that happen around me. And Lispector does this in such a beautiful way, very lyrical, very poetic. Some of my favorite quotes are, "I'm restless and harsh and despairing. Although I do have love inside me, I just don't know how to use love. Sometimes it tears up my flesh like barbs. If I can hold so much love within me and nevertheless continue to be uneasy, it's because I need God to come before it's too late. I'm in danger, as is everyone who's alive." Very Aries, very fire sign. And that really spoke to that placement of mine. So yeah, that is for my Aries rising placement. Agua Viva by Clarice Lispector. Now let's go into my fourth placement, which is probably one of my favorite placements to have, no matter what the stereotypes are about it, and that is my Venus sign, which is in Sagittarius. So Venus in Sagittarius gives a friendly and affectionate personality. You are demonstrative and direct of expression, charming and easygoing. You have good intuition. You are inclined to be idealistic in your approach to love and upbeat about life in general. You enjoy travel and the experience of other points of views and hearing new languages. There is good luck in finding relationships in your life, as you value openness and friendly intentions and expect the same of others, which becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy to your benefit. You may be changeable in the expression of your affections. The gift of your love is given freely, often to more than one person, which can cause problems with others whose love interest is more fixed and unwavering. You naturally benefit from close association with others, either materially or spiritually. You're likely to be sensual and passionate in relationships and tend to relate to even casual contexts on a deeper and more personal level. You may also appear friendly and guileless on the surface while acting shrewdly at another more hidden level of your personality. You benefit from curbing the willful expression of your passion and realizing the suffering inherent in any manipulative behavior. You may feel called to express artistically the hidden realms of your being, such as exploring death and dying or the occult. Your values are subject to continual changes as you learn and grow, moving you even closer to a deeper conception of who you really are below the surface. So, while having your Venus in Sagittarius is very fun and free and all about new experience, there's also a deeper, darker, if you will, side to it. And for this placement, the book I chose is Alone with You in the Ether by Olivie Blake. Chicago, sometime. Two people meet in the Art Institute by chance. Prior to their encounter, he is a doctoral student who manages his destructive thoughts with compulsive calculations about time travel. She is a bipolar counterfeit artist undergoing court-ordered psychotherapy. By the end of his story, things will still be true, but this is not a story about endings. For Reagan, people are predictable and tedious, including and perhaps especially herself. She copes with the dreariness of existence by living impulsively, imagining a new alternate timeline being created in the wake of every rash decision. To Aldo, the world feels disturbingly chaotic. He gets through his days by erecting a wall of routine, a backbeat of rules and formulas to keep him going. Without them, the entire framework of this existence would collapse. For Reagan and Aldo, life has been a matter of resigning themselves to the blueprints of the inevitability until the two meet. Could 6 conversations with a stranger be the variable that shakes up the entire simulation? From Olivie Blake, the New York Times bestselling author of The Atlas 6, comes an intimate and contemporary study of time, space, and the nature of love. Alone with You in the Ether explores what it means to be unwell, and how to face the fractures of yourself and still love as if you're not broken. I feel like the nature of Reagan and Aldo's love story really appeals to my Sagittarian Venus placement because of the fact that they're just two people coming into this for the sake of experiencing. Yeah, just coming together for that. So that is why I chose Alone with You in the Ether by Olivie Blake for my Sagittarian Venus placement. Placement number 5 is my Mercury in Capricorn. So Mercury in Capricorn gives a serious, practical, and detached mentality. With this placement, you have a diplomatic bent and also make a good teacher. You are determined and careful in your speech and communication with others, as well as in your own mental activity. You tend to be acutely aware of your surroundings. You can keep others on track with the reality of what's going on. You have a good concentration and attention to detail. You can also be somewhat intolerant. You benefit from lifting your vision to the higher issue and cultivating idealism. that is some background on my Capricorn Mercury placement. Communication is very important. I tend to be very meticulous. When I respond, I try to take as much time as possible to ensure that I 100% stand by what comes out of my mouth. Like, I will say it with my chest, but you just gotta give me time to say it with my chest. You know what I mean? I love being able to organize my thoughts, and I love how communication shapes relationships, because of course that is a foundational pillar. And for this placement, I chose The Magical Language of Others by E.J. Koh. So, The Magical Language of Others is a powerful and aching love story in letters from mother to daughter. After living in America for over a decade, Eunji Ko's parents returned to South Korea for work, leaving 15-year-old Eunji and her brother behind in California. Overnight, Eunji finds herself abandoned and adrift in a world made strange by her mother's absence. Her mother writes letters, in Korean, over the years seeking forgiveness and love. Letters Eunji cannot fully understand until she finds them years later hidden in a box. As Eunji translates letters, she looks to history, her grandmother Jun's years as a lovesick wife in Daejeon, the horrors her grandmother Kumiko witnessed during the Jeju Island massacre, and to poetry, as well as her own lived experience to answer questions inside all of us. Where do the stories of our mothers and grandmothers end and ours begin? How do we find words, in Korean, Japanese, English, or any language, to articulate the profound ways that distance can shape love? Eunji Ko fearlessly grapples with forgiveness, reconciliation, legacy, intergenerational trauma, arriving at insights that are essential to reading for anyone who has ever had to balance love, longing, heartbreak, and joy. The Magical Language of Others weaves a profound tale of hard-won selfhood and our deep bonds to family, place, language, and introducing in Eunji Ko a singular, incandescent voice. This was one of my favorite reads last year because of examining the way that they communicate, particularly how immigrant parents express their love, express any emotion to their kids. So I chose The Magical Language of Others by E.J. Koh as my Mercury Capricorn placement. And then finally, we have my Mars in Virgo. Mars in Virgo gives a kind nature and an energetic worker with a tendency to be fussy over details. You possess a tremendous desire to be helpful to others and have a practical and hardworking orientation that assists you in making good on your intentions. You may, however, need to evolve through getting into conflicts over trifles. At your best, you have a real focus on the simple issues of life and the health of the body, and just showing up for what comes day to day. That is essentially good-natured and constructive rather than ego-oriented. You tend to be somewhat narrow in the application of your effort and may need to start opening up to the bigger picture. It benefits you to take a more relaxed attitude and a wider, more tolerant worldview rather than getting hung up on the minutiae of a project. And for this one, we have What You Are Looking For Is in the Library by Michiko Aoyama, translated by Allison Watts. For fans of Midnight Library and Before the Coffee Gets Cold, this charming Japanese novel shows the perfect book recommendation can change a reader's life. What are you looking for? This is the famous question routinely asked by Tokyo's most enigmatic librarian, Sayuri Komachi. Like most librarians, Komachi has read every book lining her shelves, but she also has the unique ability to read the souls of her library guests. For anyone who walks through her door, Komachi can sense exactly what they're looking for in life and provide book recommendation they never knew they needed to help them find it. Each visitor comes to her library from a different juncture in their careers and dreams. From the restless sales attendant who feels stuck at her job to the struggling working mother who longs to be a magazine editor. The conversation that they have with Sayuri Komachi and the surprise book she lends each of them will have life-altering consequences. With heartwarming charm and wisdom, what you're looking for in the library is a pain to the magic of libraries, friendship, and community, perfect for anyone who has ever found themselves at an impasse in their life and in need of a little inspiration. With my Virgo Mars, I tend to easily get lost in the details of things. I tend to get really fussy and just obsess over them, essentially. And with What You're Looking For at the library, the recommendations really help to reorient the people that come in, whether it's seeking really big life advice in terms of if they should start a business, to where they should go next in life given where they are. And yeah, that is why I chose this book for my Virgo Mars placement. So those were all the books I chose for my big six. Again, if you're not a big fan of astrology, I still hope you check out these books because they are all really wonderful and have profoundly impacted me and speak to really important aspects of myself. So yeah, feel free to share your big six, big three, and books that correspond to those placements in the comments below. I hope you subscribe to stay connected, and I will see you in the next one. So I hope you take care, and goodbye.